Hello, everyone. This is Eleanor Rigby. I was sitting quietly at my kitchen table this morning, holding a faded, fragile receipt from a little corner diner back in 1982. The ink is barely visible now, just faint smudges on yellowed paper. But holding it, I could suddenly smell the bitter black coffee we drank that day, and it vividly reminded me of the afternoon my entire world almost shattered. Looking at that delicate slip of paper, I was struck by how relentlessly time marches on. If I hadn't learned this, I would have lost everything. I would have spent my final chapters chasing a dangerous illusion. Before I tell you this story, please subscribe. I want to pass this wisdom down before I'm gone, so you don't make the same mistakes. In all my 80 years, I have never felt anything quite as crushing as the silence that moved into my home when I lost my husband Arthur. When you find yourself alone in your 60s navigating a house meant for two, the loneliness becomes a physical ache. In that overwhelming desperation, I did what so many of us do when we are terrified of facing the end of the road alone. I decided to step back out into the world. I decided I needed to find a new partner. Let me tell you the truth. Getting into a new relationship after 60 is absolutely nothing like what you think it is. We see these lovely movies about finding a magical second act, a golden romance in our autumn years. We think we can simply plug a new human being into the gaping, empty space left behind by a lifetime of irreplaceable memories. But experience has taught me that a human heart is not a simple jigsaw puzzle missing a single, easily replaceable piece. When we got married in 1978, Arthur and I had to fight tooth and nail for absolutely everything we had. We didn't have a penny to our names. We were living in a drafty apartment on the third floor, with a heater that only worked when it felt like it. During the economic crisis of the late 70s, we were literally rationing our groceries. We would split a single can of soup for dinner, but we built our entire foundation on that shared, gritty struggle. We shared the identical cellular memory of what it felt like to be young, scared, and completely reliant on each other against the world. Young people today might not understand this, but back then, you didn't just throw things away when they got difficult or broken. You fixed them. You sat down at a wobbly kitchen table at 2 in the morning, exhausted to your bones, and you talked and argued until the sun came shining through the window. You committed to the repair. But when you are in your 60s and you try to bring someone entirely new into your life, that shared history simply does not exist. I met a man named Henry when I was 64. He was kind, he had a wonderful laugh, and he was deeply lonely, just like I was. We went to nice dinners, we took long walks, and we tried our absolute hardest to play the roles of two people falling seamlessly in love. But beneath the surface, it was an illusion. I found myself constantly, exhaustingly having to translate my soul. I was trying to merge two fully formed, deeply set, stubborn lives. We had different morning habits, different emotional tolerances, and fundamentally different ways of grieving the separate lives we had already lived. One night, in the dead of winter, Henry and I got into a disagreement over something so incredibly trivial, but the fight escalated so quickly and so bitterly. It wasn't the kind of passionate, productive fight you have in your 30s. It was a tired, rigid defensive fight between two older people who were far too set in their way to ever truly bend. I can still hear his voice echoing in my narrow hallway. I can hear the sharp frustration in his tone as he told me that I was living entirely in the past, that I was too guarded, and that I didn't actually have any room left in my heart for anyone else. And the devastating part was that he was right. It wasn't easy. In fact, It was the hardest year of my life. Trying to mold myself into a new relationship at that age was draining my spirit. The hard truth about dating after 60 is that you are no longer building a life together. You are merely negotiating how to safely parallel park your remaining years next to someone else's baggage. You are dealing with their past traumas, their estranged children, their deeply rooted fears, and their lingering ghosts, and they are being forced to deal with yours. I promise you, the late stage romance you are frantically seeking is so often just a mask for the sheer terror of being alone. I wanted a time machine. I wanted someone to sit in Arthur's old chair and magically make the house feel alive again. But forcing a new person into an old chair doesn't bring back the past. It only makes the present feel unbearably hollow. Think about that truly. Think about what you are asking of another human being when you try date at this stage of life. You're asking them to compete with an idealized ghost. It is deeply unfair to them, and it's betrayal of your own peace. My late husband used to say, a quiet house is only lonely if you forget how to talk to yourself. I didn't fully understand the profound wisdom of what he meant until Henry finally packed up his thing and left for good. I was sitting alone in the living room again, but this time the silence felt entirely different. It felt like a sanctuary. I realized that my desperate search for a companion was actually a distraction from my own healing. If you are over 60 and you find yourself endlessly searching, going to awkward coffee meetups, hoping desperately to find a spark, I need you to pause. Are you genuinely looking for love? Or are you just running away from the stillness of your own life? Love isn't a feeling you have, it's a decision you make every morning. And sometimes the absolute most important decision you can make is to love the life you have already built, to love the precious memories you hold in your mind, and to love yourself enough not to settle for a fragile, exhausting imitation of what you once had. Modern dating tells us that being single in our twilight years is a tragedy. But when you reach our age, you know the absolute truth. The best things in this world are built over decades of sweat, tears, mundane Tuesdays, and unconditional sacrifice. Patience, sacrifice, loyalty, communication. These are the sturdy pillars of a real bond. You cannot microwave a 50-year connection in 6 months. It is impossible. When you stop frantically searching for a partner after 60, you reclaim your time. You reclaim your fading energy. You can wake up at 5 in the morning, make your coffee exactly how you like it, and sit by the window in absolute undisturbed peace. You become the proud author of your own beautiful conclusion. Honor the scars you carry, for they are the map of a life truly lived. Do not ever feel that you are somehow incomplete just because the pillow next to you is empty. That empty pillow is a powerful testament to a life fully lived, to a heart that loved so deeply that it doesn't need to frantically search for a replacement. You have survived so much heartbreak, so much joy, and so much change. You have earned your peace. Guard it fiercely. Thanks for listening to An Old Soul. Subscribe, share this with someone you love, and cherish them while they are here.